Hello, everyone. Today's a little bit different than when we get together on Sundays. Today, we honor the memory of Enrique Hank Feldman, who was a huge presence in the early childhood world as a musician, educator, motivational speaker, and overall leader. You will hear from speakers talk about working with him and how much he impacted their lives. Enrique had 30 years experience as a public speaker, educator, author, two-time Grammy nominated composer. That is such an honor to me as a musician, and Kathleen, Debbie, and an artist. He founded and was director of learning for the nonprofit education organization, the Global Learning Foundation, formerly the FAME Foundation. And he was a member and graduate of the local first AZ Scale Up Sustainability Program and co-founder of Sumerian in audible tone technology, IBG Brain Games, and Sam the Ant children's books, which Dr. Kathleen will speak about. I found a quote in his LinkedIn profile at the end where he stated, "I am a community builder at heart, and my efforts are local, regional, national, and international in scope. I'm excited and passionate about being an executive board member for Fight Cancer Global and an advisory member for the intergenerational nonprofit." That gave me pause to think that he was taking the time to help fight this horrible disease that took him from us. With all these accomplishments under his belt, when I spoke with Enrique, the thing he was most proud of and most eager to talk about was family. He was a family man first and above all else. And family also had a second level of friends that he considered family. Our conversations would always start out on the projects we were working on, but always ended up with us sharing stories of our children. And I enjoyed that. You can tell he loved deeply. And because of that, those he left behind will always carry that gift and light and continue to share his work throughout the world. I'm very proud and honored to be part of this panel of people that are passionate about continuing that. Now, we're going to play a video. I do need to prerequisite that with saying it is very emotional. So, Atul, if you can play that video.
Traditional route of teaching young boys to be the protectors or the women to be the caregivers. Those are very, very old thoughts. Create more work, how to create more value, but also the benefits for our mental health, the benefits for our families, right, and for our future. It's time to create, in concrete ways, hope for the future. And if you can't tell, I'm really excited because this is what I was built for. I had an incredible grandmother, and I still have a great mom and many other mentors. And I'm so filled with gratitude that I've been shown just ways in which I've been able to continue to grow. And I want to share those with all of you. So December 13th, then I want to engage you in a physical way that will help you reimagine how you use your brain. What about having a literate brain? What does that mean? Switch to, nice job.
Okay, that was very beautiful. And we'll switch things up a little bit here. And at tour, we had talked about how after watching that video, maybe you would take a moment, and if you can, and talk about putting the video together. I know that this is very, very emotional to you, for you got very close with him very quickly, and he was there for you. So you put together a lot of those memories and saw some of us in those videos with him. And do you want to take a moment now?
Yeah. So making this video was one of the hardest thing, frankly. I couldn't watch this before. So I met Enrique last year online when I was reaching out to people across the globe to speak for our early childhood community. I sent out a message through LinkedIn, and we instantly connected. In our first interaction, I found him so very warm, kind-hearted person. He was an individual who had a persona, energy, enthusiasm, or power to uplift any individual instantly. And that's what he did. His bold yet warm voice and the way he'd call your name with a big smile was simply amazing. I found immense joy in connecting with him, and he always made me very special, and he made me feel very special, and I always looked up to him as an elder brother. Although we had just met, 1.5 years back. We continued chatting, talking for past almost a year while he was doing his master class for IBG, the brain game certification program, and we came quite close. Close that I could, really speak out anything to him, and he would respond in a very, very positive manner. I always looked forward to connecting to him, hearing his voice and his deep thoughts about various aspects of life. Unfortunately, we just lost him when we were just building this great friendship, I will say. I will miss him, and will always remember how he came in my life and had a tremendous impact on me. I don't know if Mary, Sam, and Nick know me, but I know you. If you're watching, Mary, Sam, and Nick, please consider us as a part of your family in this difficult situation. Stay strong, and we are there for you. I think I would like to say that.
Beautiful. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to. Well, Sam has commented here. Atul, we love you. So even without meeting them, they see your heart and they know what you meant to him and what he meant to you. which brings me to Debbie Clement, who is a special friend to me as well. And Debbie traveled with Enrique, and she has some stories to share. So, Debbie, let's highlight you here and please share.
Exhale. I have so many thoughts and stories and ideas that start or have grown as a result of my friendship and work with Enrique. So, unlike typically, I thought I would wear a black, somber, muted shirt as a tribute to the reality of this unthinkable time that we are in now, the time when Enrique is no longer actually in our midst. But you knew I couldn't stay there for long. So, in the tradition of Mr. Rogers, who used to put on his cardigan and then, impart his thoughts, when I myself was going through cancer for the second time, I remember a time where I was at a school with little ones and I had on striped tights. And this little 3-year-old kiddo came up to me and patted my legs and said, "How'd you get to have striped legs?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just lucky." And he said, "Do they hold you up?" And I laughed, so I didn't cry. And I said, "Well, yes, my stripes and my polka dots and all my colors, they hold me up. So I'm going to rely on those today." I am the connection to Enrique from the way back machine, way back decades and decades, and maybe not a third decade, but back when telephones were attached to the wall. You remember those? And I got a call from another Debbie, and she said, "Debbie, I'm working with this guy, and he's saying a lot of the same things that you're saying, and I think you two should get to talking to each other, and I think you're on the same wavelength." And so that was before emails so much of communication. So we talked on the phone initially and realized we shared a lot of common passion around young children. And I remember him saying, "What if we could statistically prove that music and movement and laughter and breathing, what if we could prove that those were going to improve children's lives and prepare them for their coming education? Do you want to be a part of that?" "Oh, yeah, I want to be a part of that." And so that was his, I don't know if it was his very first nonprofit, but that was FAME, Fostering Arts and Mind Education. Well, very quickly, we were into the email era, and he had secured 2 sites in Ohio where I was that wanted to be in on this launching of the statistical documentation of music and how that would make a difference. And so he would fly into Columbus, Ohio, where we lived, and I would pick him up at the airport, and he would come to my house, and we'll all remember his big laughing and his huge compassion for family. And Marie, I remember him first describing his love for you and trying to describe to me your hair and how incredible your hair was. I don't remember him telling me how you two met, but him trying in a sensory way to describe your hair and how it shone around you, and how your recipes in Cuba and the Spanish you could enrich him with But I remember him talking about your hair in those first conversations, and then he'd always pull out those pictures. Mara was talking about that. It almost became like a passage between us. We couldn't go on stage until he showed me the most recent pictures. And Nick, you were always Nicky. I mean, you were never Nick. You were always Nicky. And Sam, you were always Sam. You were younger than my two daughters, and so it was fun to relive through your antics. Um, Nicky, you always had some kind of a stick in every story he talked about it. They would be javelins or they would be part of your martial arts, but there was always a stick when it came to Nicky, and how you empowered your father as you grew in your martial arts. And Sam, for you, it was always your writing and your thoughtful power of words that he took so much pride. You were so little. I mean, Nick was probably 4 the first time I came to your house, and Sam, you were little but so profound. And so we used to get to travel. He probably came to Ohio. I don't know. He really wrote a program that he got Head Start to buy into and believe in, that he would come to Ohio 9 times in a school year. And he would train a very select, maybe a dozen teachers from each of 2 sites. And we would be together for at least a day, sometimes 2 days, sometimes 3 days. And then the 2 of us would travel to those Head Start classrooms. And we would sing and dance and jump and breathe and use puppets and make it an impact in those classrooms. And so those were the days where he'd have his tuba, and we usually had a driver. So there was a driver. Enrique sat in the front, and that left Debbie Clement to sit in the back seat with Enrique's tuba. And he didn't always communicate to the driver that how big this tuba was going to be. So there were times they would show up with their little micro car and this tuba. And I always felt like we were getting out of a clown car together. And as I've been talking or chatting, I guess more accurately, with Sam this past week, she pointed out that Winnie the Pooh held a great reverence between she and her father, Enrique. So as I was looking through some of my favorite Winnie the Pooh quotes, the one that came to mind as the clown car example is the thought that as soon as I saw you, I knew an adventure was about to happen. And that's what it was. Whenever Enrique pulled up, he was a man of so far ahead of his time in terms of so many things, how we can harness our brain, how we could harness our breathing, how we could use that classical music. Seeing him, directing with one hand and doing something else with the other hand, doing that with 3 and 4-year-old children, seeing his hands extended in the sign for wonderful, and knowing that that's something I gave him from what is probably the song that's most associated with me. I think you're wonderful. And seeing his big bare palms out there in that sign in a Tools video takes me immediately back to all those stages where we sang that as a duet together, and those words of affirmation. Was and is, I really believe he'll guide each of us personally from a place as close as our heart. I'm personally raising butterflies, and so the butterflies, they take off from Mexico. I'll name quite a few Enrique in his honor. It's hard to think of how we get from this place where we are now, in the grieving, in the saying goodbye, and move to the place of incorporating what he taught us and what we observed, and the nuance and the tiny little things. I know I taught him, well, I taught him to be wonderful, but I taught him, sometimes we would go to as many as 6 schools in a day, and that's why we had to have a driver. And so we would pull up into the school and the kids might already be assembled, and so I'd have a suitcase and a guitar and he'd have a tuba, and so I taught him that in those moments of just literally unzipping the zipper on your suitcase, boys and girls, there's something exciting in here. What's it going to be? What's it going to be? What's it going to be? And so he got to see me do that. And then as the months rolled on, and he would unzip his carry-on and bring out his elephant puppet with as much of his, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Close your eyes. Here it comes. As soon as I saw you, I knew there was going to be an adventure. I have one more story. So we did all that work in Ohio. Oh, that was maybe over a 2 or 3 year period of time. Ohio, back and forth and up and down. Well, I have maybe more than one story, but we were on a snowy, sloppy, cold, wet, winter gray day in Ohio. He'd come from Arizona and the blue skies, and I always felt like I had to apologize, but we were slogging through this parking lot. It was the end of the day. We were running late. Everything, it was not a terrific conclusion, but we were going to the most important, significant school of that day. It was at a university. And so here we are, just kind of drenched and exhausted and worn out, and making our way into this building. And here's the president of the university here to see Enrique and Debbie. And then he taught me in that moment, from the sheer exhaustion, just to flip the switch and just to speak, with such enthusiasm and genuine excitement to meet this man. And thank you for coming to see us. And we're doing important work here. And he launched into a little 2-minute elevator speech about why this work was so important. And then we had another 10 seconds probably before we were, and it was an auditorium of children packed in there. And some of their parents were there to pick them up since it was so late at the end of the day. I mean, it was massive humanity. And he went from that slogging through the parking lot, meeting the president of the university, and then down on the floor with 3 and 4-year-old children, and absolutely without missing a beat. And each of those moments in that 5-minute segue were just as appropriate and important. The 3-year-old child and the president of the university. And he really taught me, think on your feet, be ready. You never know when you're going to meet the person that's going to write the grant that's going to get you to the. And then I was so lucky that he started flying me out to Arizona, and we started to work together with first, of course, the Tucson Head Start agencies, and where I got to go out and see my first saguaro cactus in the national parks up there, and I got to go to Sedona, but we were down in Nogales, right on the border, and we had our training with Head Start teachers there, and we were out at a little cafe. And anybody that knows Enrique knows it's all about the food. It's all about what we're eating. And he looks at me, he says, Deb, you got to have the pineapple with the hot pepper. And 20 years later, I don't remember the term for that. Maybe Sam or Marie, you can tell me. And I'm like, Enrique, I'm a Midwestern Ohio girl. I'm not really sure I want hot pepper on my pineapple. And he's like, you're in Nogales. I'm ordering it for you. You're going to like it. And sure enough, of course, it's one of the memories, that combination, that taste, that imploring me to step out of my boundaries and try something new. So I want to conclude my little thoughts here with another quote attributed to Winnie the Pooh. I see it on all the Winnie the Pooh posters. I don't know Christopher Robin's voice, who said this, or if it's one of those urban legends with Winnie the Pooh. But when I think of moving forward from this day, from last week when Atul sent me the message that Enrique had died. And then I sent Mim Canfield the message that Enrique had died because the three of us got to be on stage at NAEYC together for hours at a time and, helping her process that loss. How do we get from now, today, to tomorrow? You are braver than you believe, right? Maybe say that with me. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter, smarter than you know. Thank you for letting me be a part of this, Atul, for bringing this. Oh, that's the story I wanted to tell at the beginning. It's so incredibly significant that we're here together globally from India. I'm standing in Wisconsin where, he was a professor.
Yeah.
Every story he would, whatever stage we were on, not with the children, but when we were on a stage with teachers or librarians or parents or a combination of those three, he'd always start off with, I'm Enrique Feldman. I bet you want to know the story of how you get the name Enrique with the name Feldman. Well, let me tell you how that works. And then he'd launch into the genuine, authentic, historic story of his predecessors, his family, and persecution, and love, and triumph, and moving from one continent to the next continent, um, and that I think made him global before we were all connected globally. And so I will stop now and let the rest of you share some of your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie, for sharing your thoughts and your telling so many memorable times that you spent with Enrique together. I would like to just mention people who have joined today. Thank you, Navjot Negi, to taking your time out. And she says that God bless you, Enrique, Hank Feldman. God bless your beautiful family and all whom you have touched. Thank you, Navjot. Then we have Mr. Rick Warmer.
Yeah.
He says, thank to all for taking time to be here together. Blessings to all. Sam is also there. Thank you, Sam, for taking time out. I know it's a difficult time for you and your family. Thank you for being there. Prerna, such an honor to have. Prerna Richard says, such an honor to have met him on this platform. We remember him with fond memories of sharing tricks to play brain break games. I also remember the time we presented on gender inequalities together. So inspirational and motivational as a human. Rest in peace. Thank you, Prerna. We have few more other people who have joined. Then Priti, yes, Rick Warmer says, Debbie, such a gift you are. So Rick Warmer says, Debbie, such a gift you are. You also have been to our dear friend Enrique. Love and warm to you, Debbie. There are a lot of comments for you, Debbie. Just have a look at it. Claire Cox
Oh,
says, I am transported back 20 years to seeing Debbie, Mimi, and Enrique in action. You all greatly inspired and influenced me and forever changed my pre kindergarten or kindergarten classrooms. I am sending so much love to all of Enrique's family, friends, and will continue to carry his lessons close to my heart. Rick Warmer says, I loved being with Mimi, Candace, Mazur, and the work with the Enrique early on. We met Enrique, and I thought the early childhood work we engaged in. I left Columbus, Ohio in 1997. He has sweet memories. Now, Sam says to Debbie that, Debbie, your impact has been enormous. Even though you and I only interacted when I was very small, your influence has come all the way through to my own young students. Wow. Sam is also a teacher, I guess. So Thanks for all you do, Sam says. Sam says, yes, Debbie, he kept using the You Are Wonderful song forever, and everyone in my student learn it and learns about you. Amazing. So Preeti says, for Enrique, what a beautiful human being you are, Enrique, as you are loved by so many people, and everyone has amazing, happy, positive story to share about you. And that's why you will be alive in our hearts and our thoughts always. You made us better, Enrique. So there's so many. Then we have a comment that's come. I don't know the name of the person, but I will say that I was so proud to attend a conference, and I see him as a closing keynote. To see him as a closing keynote, I was a professor, and I brought so many students with me. He did such wonderful exercises and engaged with us. He loved sharing his knowledge, and he touched us all. My students are also sad to hear of his passing. Our EC community has lost a great advocate. Thank you for doing this for him today. We thank you. Our deepest condolences to the family from Wow Kids Team India. Enrique enriched our lives with his amazing knowledge and passion for early childhood. This is from Preeti. All right, we move ahead, Mayor.
I think we just put him on the screen. And Andres, I know you're very good at speaking.
So Andres, I'm not sure people know about Andres, but I got to know Andres through Enrique, and we became such good friends. And Enrique, today we have Enrique and Colby on the show only because I through Enrique, and I knew that these both gentlemen were very close in the last 1.5 to 2 years, and ever since I met him. I'm not sure about the past. Andres also had the opportunity to meet him and see him couple of weeks back. So, what do you, Andres? Please tell us your experience with Enrique, and
Yeah.
any memories that you have. I could see on Facebook several times you had met over a cup of coffee with him in the morning, and then you used to do vlogs, and we used to hear that. So, please, yeah.
Yeah. So, and the reason why I'm wearing the shirt "Fearless" is because that's what one of the qualities that Enrique had. Like, he was such a fearless warrior, and man, anytime I was around him, I felt fearless. I felt confident. I felt like I was a person that could do anything because of him, his presence. And I remember like the first time that we met was through coffee with a good friend of mine, Edmund. And as soon as I talked to this guy, I said, "This is my dude. Like, this guy is the person that I want to be around." You know, when you meet somebody and you're like, "This is somebody that I would love to have some more coffee with or just more chats with." He was that guy. And as soon as I talked to him, I even told him, I was like, "Man, I'm so grateful to meet you today." And he said, "Let's jam again." That's what he would always say. "Let's have an IPJ, like an intellectual purpose jam." So we met again, and we started conversating, and we started to get to know each other more and more. And we would meet on a weekly basis. And through these coffees, we not only talked about what we did, public speaking, but we talked about life. And that's something that I appreciated about him, because we would talk about how to be a better father. Um, and it was not just only like to be a better father by what he told me, but what he did. Like, I remember one time we went on a trip, him, his son Nick, and myself. We went to San Diego for a retreat, and I would see these conversations between him and Nick, and I was like, "Man, these guys are talking like they're good friends." And I would tell myself, "This is so cool to be in the car with the two of them." Was really inspiring and motivating for me to be a better father. And I was like, I want that. Like, I want to have that relationship with my kids where we can talk about, we can talk to each other like if we're friends. And what I really loved about Enrique was how he would say, "Man, it's so cool to get a message from your daughter or your son saying, 'Hey, I want to hang out with you.'" And that was just something that was so cool about him, and it motivated me to be a better father. And I said, I want that. And when I would talk to him about my kids, sometimes I would have struggles as a father, and he would give me some. He would even give me tips. He wouldn't give me so many tips. He would just ask me questions, and that's why he talked about a lot about the art of the question. And he would ask me all these questions that would really get me thinking and saying, "What can I do to be a better father?" And sometimes I would call him up, "Hey man, right now I had a really bad experience with my kid. I need some help." And he would just start helping me right there just by talking to me. And as a husband, he would help me as well. He was such a great example with Marie. He was always spoke so highly of her, just how much he appreciated her, and how he was always trying to just be a better husband. And he would ask me questions about like, well, how can you be a better husband too? Like, what can you do? And he would just ask me all these questions. And when I would get out of those conversations with him with through coffee, I would be a better person. And that's something that he taught me, was just to be a better human being. And he was always just teaching me how to be a better human being by the example that he was setting. And because of the example that he was setting, I would pretty much just want to be like him in a way, just to be a better person. Because when you're around people that are good and do good, you want to do good too. And that's why you raise your standards when you're around these people. And so another thing that I loved about Enrique was I could cry in front of him. I could just talk about something that was really bringing me down, and I would just start crying. And I know that there was no judgment. I felt safe. It was a safe space where there was not going to be any judgment, because when I was growing up, we were always told, "Hey, don't be a crybaby, man up." And Enrique really didn't believe in that. He said, that's just garbage. Like, we shouldn't believe in that. We should believe in it's okay to hold a space for a man to cry. And I remember the last time that I saw him, it was challenging to see him that way. Like, that he was not doing so well. And I remember, like, as soon as I sat down with him, he just looked at me and he said, "First of all, I just want to tell you I love you." And to have that relationship with
You are so lucky, Andres. I envy you that you had an opportunity to meet him
yeah.
just 2 weeks back. And I was so curious to know how that man, was in the last few days. You were
Well,
so lucky that you could meet him, and he could express his love for you. That's so nice. He used to talk to me, whenever, and we used to talk about you. He loved you like mad. I will say, he always used to say that, oh, he's my young brother, like that. So
yes.
it's
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
so nice.
that's yeah. So
Nice.
when I was when we were talking, he said I love you, and I told him, I love you too, man. Like, and that was something that we would always tell each other. We would be like, "Hey, man, I just want to tell you, I love you, man. I love you, brother." And that was so cool to just be able to say that to another man, and not feel like less than of a man, because oh, you're telling yourself, I love you. And that's something that I grew up around. Like, saying I love you to a man was like, it was weird. We came up from a machismo family, and it was just weird. But he said I love you, and we just started talking about life and this is what I loved about Enrique. Man, this guy has such a strong mentality, and that even though he was feeling ill, he was still talking about, what are we going to do next? What are we going to create next for our community? He was always thinking about his community. He wasn't thinking about himself. He wasn't saying like, "Oh man, I'm so sick," or "I feel so sad for myself." No, he was like, what are we going to do after I get out of this? He was so optimistic. I really thought that he was going to get out of this. I really thought that he was going to be able to overcome this, because his optimism gave me so much hope and faith that he was going to make it. And so when when uh when we were talking, we were just, yeah, as usual, like we were having a coffee. We were just talking and having a good time. And um pretty much, Enrique, I could just tell you that he was somebody that I really looked up to. He was somebody that made me a better man. And to this day, he still lives in my heart. He'll still live on in my heart. And I will continue to represent what he stood for, his values. And every time, just the other day, I had an argument with my kid, and I told myself, man, what would Enrique do in this situation? What would Enrique ask me right now? And it worked. It was just like, oh yeah, I'm a grown man. I need to make sure that I don't act like a little kid because my kid is 9 years old. So I'm gonna calm down, take a deep breath, and make sure that I don't yell at my kid. And it was Enrique that was right there. And so I still talk to him because I know he's still here. And one thing that I want to make sure that we continue is just honoring him through what we do and who we are. And I definitely will miss him so much. And I just love that man so much. We would talk about such challenging moments that we had in our lives with family, friends, and just talking to him made me feel at ease and made me feel more of a better human being, more courageous, more fearless. And yeah, he's definitely somebody that we will miss, but will definitely not be forgotten and will always be in our minds. I mean, and his family, that we love very deeply, will always be here for them as well, because anybody that is close to Enrique or anybody that is family to Enrique is definitely somebody that I know is a good human being, and I definitely want to be around those people. So, just I just want to say that he will be missed, and just yeah, we definitely lost somebody that made such a big impact, not only in myself but in others. And the way that I saw it was how the community came together to support his family. I love that, because I was talking to my wife yesterday of like, that's what I want to do. I want to continue to serve my community and take care of my community so that one day when I'm gone, my community will take care of my family, my legacy. Like that's what I want to live by, like what Enrique left behind. And yeah, so that's pretty much what I have. And
Andres, I want you to look at the comment Sam has written. He never lost his fierce positivity all the
yes,
way to the very final moment. He never gave up. He was the same Enrique we all know in every last moment, planning
yes,
for the future, finding the gifts in adversity. And we are his legacy, every one of us. We are his light. And there was another one here that someone wrote specifically to you, and I want to get to here, Rick. He's
So
reaching
Rick
out and
Warm.
saying, my heart is with you. Always reach out to me anytime. Enrique lives in your carrying him forward in your own calling.
thank you,
So
Rick. Appreciate it. Thank you,
he,
Sam.
Enrique
Um,
believed
we
in you.
we also have another comment from Holly Elisa Bruno. Holly, hi. You've been watching this. Let me just put that. She has put a comment in some other comment box. You won't be able to see it here, but I would want to read that out. Holly says, I wish I could be with you there. That means on the show today. Enrique Hank Feldman was a powerful, soulful leader who wanted to make the world better for children and families. I could always count on him to be there with a smile and a hug and generous heart. He responded with creativity to the pandemic lockdown, creating his own ways to virtually share his message. I am grateful we are supportive colleagues in our desire to give back. Miss you, Hank. May your soul travel safely and well.
Beautiful,
And she's
Holly.
also
Thank you.
grateful to us for doing this for him. Also, we have a comment from Nicola Vojnovic Mecca. He says, Nicola says Enrique was such a role model for all the early childhood educators. Yes, definitely he was. And we have a comment from Laurie Kennedy Barnes. She says, celebrating you, Enrique. So
Hey, Lori.
I thought I'll just.
And Ron Speak is saying Enrique is a tremendous joy to the world and his work will continue on.
We also have a comment here from. I'll just read that out.
Well,
From Sana. Sana says, I used to watch all his live sessions. his cooking recipes, which he had shared regularly. He was such a great personality. Yes, he would often do that and make all of us smile. And he
And
used to give
hungry.
out free lessons, and it was very and he made the videos so nicely that you could actually taste and feel the recipe inside you. So that's how it was. All
Yes.
right. Yes.
So I want to just, I feel like we didn't say a proper goodbye to Andres for such an eloquent, spoken from the heart talk. And I feel for you. I know that you are a very passionate person, and that was hard. And I admire your being able to get up there and speak from the heart so well. I look forward to speaking with you next week, Andres.
Yeah.
And now Colby, who I think has a very difficult job coming up ahead, that he's going to do a fantastic. He's going to do fantastic with. He's going to be carrying on, so to speak, for the foundation. And you know what, Colby, you're going to tell about it better than I, and how you and Enrique got together. And I know it includes Andres again.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Marianne. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Colby, and I've been a dear friend with Enrique for the last year and a half. He's been one of my best friends, one of my mentors, one of my peers in business. He's helped me in so many profound ways. And one thing that Enrique was really good at was honoring the power of breath. And I just want to invite us all to kind of do the same. So I'm going to invite you all to just take 3 deep breaths with me, where we can honor Enrique and really bring him into us. Wow.
Thank you, Colby.
You're so welcome. I got to admit, that was a little selfish for me as well. That helped me compose myself so I can get through the next part. I want to start with a funny story of Enrique. So, he really is the reason that I was able to transition from speaking in public, in person, on a stage with actual live warm bodies in front of you, to being able to navigate speaking virtually online, where just like now I'm looking at a green dot on my computer screen, and I'm just hoping that there's plenty of people back there sharing the same vibes as me. And it was my first time speaking virtually on a stage solo in a workshop that I was leading by myself. And as with all of my speaking engagements, Enrique was the first in the waiting room and was there supporting me the entire time. And as people started to roll in, you could tell I was a little nervous, I was a little scattered, and it was kind of quiet in the room. And he sent me a private message, and he said, "Hey, everybody, ask everybody what they think about having pineapple on pizza." And oh my gosh, the second that I asked that question, the comment box lit up. Everybody was so charged immediately with that. And it brought such an energy. And it was so funny to see him lighting up, because he knew he was kind of scheming in the background. And that really set me up for success. And I gave a great presentation, had a great time, super engaged. And then towards the end, right as we're starting to leave, he messages me again and he says, okay, now ask everybody what they think about pineapple on a hamburger. And everybody lost their minds. Oh my gosh, the room lit up. Everyone was so excited to be engaged in this conversation. And there were so many people that were so divisive about whether or not pineapple belonged on a hamburger. And I could just see him beaming in the background. And, Enrique had such a powerful presence when he was on the stage in front of people. And everyone knew that he commanded attention when he was singing, speaking, playing an instrument, whatever it was. But where Enrique really shined was when he was off stage and he was supporting the people that were on stage. He was so phenomenal at empowering the people around him and supporting people without having to be there. For such a big guy, he was able to hide himself and go into the background and give other people the spotlight. And he was just so empowering and supportive for me when I needed to take that role. And when I was in front of people, I always knew he was behind me. And, along those lines, he was a community builder at heart. He was so strategic in uplifting and building community by bringing people together, creating connections, and really empowering those around him. I've seen him speak to a wide capacity of people, and in every one of those situations, he would never talk down to anyone. As Debbie mentioned, it didn't matter if you were 50 or 5. He was always willing to get down to your level. He was always willing to see you eye to eye, become a peer with you. It didn't matter how old you were, how experienced you were. He was always right there with you, and he would be able to create this space, hold this magical energy with you, just full of love and presence. He was so good at empowering others through his words and his actions. For everything that he told me, he taught me twice as many things by the way he acted. His way of being was so powerful and so vibrant. And he was just so good at being able to fill the space without even saying a word. And through that, he was so great at leading by example. He was a brilliant example to others. And he would never give unsolicited advice. He would always lead by his example and find ways to support you without being overbearing. And along those lines, it didn't matter how crazy the idea was that I would come up with. And I got to tell you, I threw some crazy ideas out there when Enrique and I were talking. He was always so excited and so enthusiastic. I never heard that man say no once in his life to me. It was always yes, and
Never,
let's do this.
never.
Let's
Yes.
include this. Let's bring in these
Amazing.
ideas. He was so enthusiastic to just be part of the creation process and supporting others. It was just so phenomenal. That love and joy that I would bring to him, he would just share in it with me. And we would just sit there and be so excited and joyful about opportunities to create together. And that was so meaningful to me. It didn't matter what I came up with. I never felt like it was a bad idea. I always felt like he was going to help me support and hammer out the details so that we can move forward. And I just loved that about him. Speaking of things I loved about him, his laugh. He had one of the biggest laughs I have ever heard. I would be over Zoom with him, and I could feel his laugh in my chest. He just has
Yes.
one of the most powerful laughs I have ever heard of any person in my entire life. He could fill an entire room after hearing the cheesiest jokes, and that vibrant energy that he was able to just swirl around a room and just fill people with was so uplifting and positive and just really encouraging, and it would just raise the level of energy in any room that he was in. He had the biggest laugh, and he had the biggest heart as well. He was just so deeply caring about the people around him. And I've never met someone as compassionate with Enrique. You can be at your highest high or your lowest low, and you know that Enrique is going to be there, grounded, confident, and supportive, no matter what. And that just meant so much to me.
And
Enrique was
Colby,
also, yeah, go ahead.
well, he really studied laughter. I mean, his laugh was genuine and responsive, but he also studied and had science behind the benefit of laughter and why and how and we used to lead laughter exercises and as a method, to get all that happy serotonin and all those endorphins, the endorphins running around, and he could laugh in the biggest, most genuine way, and kind of wink to me across the stage. Gotcha, didn't I? That it was methodical and studied and genuine, and that was such a unique combination. He had the science behind what he was doing, but he was able to do it in a way that, as you say, you could feel that hug of laughter in your own body. The person making the most minimal wage at the back of the auditorium who slunk in, barely making it in the room with a cup of coffee and part of breakfast on her shoulder from some baby that spit up on her, and he could connect to that person with that laugh. And you're right, we all need to remember that and know that he had the knowledge of why that was so significant.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for
We have a
sharing that, Debbie.
wonderful comment that I just love this. Navjot Negi says he was the Buddha with pure love, kindness, compassion, and giving. So she has compared him
I,
with Buddha, and I really,
I
that's
love
I
that.
love this, love that. Yes.
And
Sam
along
says
those
that.
lines,
Sam says we miss his laugh so much. I'm sure you must be missing that. And then Navjot says, "Wow, that's so interesting, Debbie. What a man!" Right.
Enrique, he was the definition of a giver. He would give and give and give tirelessly and relentlessly to those around him. He was one of the most selfless individuals I've ever met. He was selfless in the kitchen. He was selfless in sharing his passion for eating healthy food and the transformation that eating healthy foods helped him undergo. He was selfless in his musical abilities. I remember one of the last times we spoke on the phone, he sang a cappella to me through the pain. He sang a cappella to me to bring me joy and love. He was also such a social justice warrior. I've never met someone who was so fiercely committed to serving marginalized and underserved populations. He was so incredible in the ways that he gave and he served and he loved. And in those ways, he was an ultimate community builder. He changed the world, my friends. He changed the world when he was here, and he's going to continue to change the world even though he is gone. For many of us, he was our fearless leader, and it was really easy to fall behind him with his large personality, his monstrous size, and his huge heart. Now that he's gone, it's our opportunity. We now have the opportunity to step up and be the leaders that he saw in us this whole time. We have the skills and the tools that he had because he shared and he gave so much. And I'm so honored to have spent the time that I did with him. And I feel truly ready to carry on his mission and his legacy, his love, and his generous heart for building community. And I'm just so grateful for the ways that I've been touched by him, the ways that he has impacted the world positively. And I'm so eager to continue on his mission.
Thank you,
Thanks, everybody.
Colby. That was beautiful. Very well said and beautiful. We appreciate hearing from all of you that have such interesting stories and insight. And
And
our
Marion,
last speaker,
one thing I think, uh, coincidentally, all three of us, me, Colby, as well as Andres, we've met. I think Enrique in the last couple of years, ever since this pandemic started. Is that right? Is that right, Colby and Andres? Or you
Yeah,
knew him before
I
that?
met I met Enrique about a little over 2 years ago. So it
Okay.
was, yeah, kind of close to the pandemic. And um, it's interesting. Like, we were talking about how when everybody was like, in their houses and scared, Enrique and I were jamming, we were creating, and that was so cool about him. He was just, like I said, such a fearless warrior that he said, "What can we do? What are we going to do next?" Instead of saying like, "Oh my God, COVID hit and what's going to happen?" No, we were thinking, "What can we do to create programs? What can we do to help our community?" We weren't thinking about like this was going to hold us back. We were thinking, how are we going to overcome this? And that's what I loved about him. And yeah, I mean, I can't. And real quick, I remember we used to go to this place called San Mercado. They took away all the chairs in that location. So what we would do is we would bring lawn chairs, and we would put the lawn chairs there, and we would bring our own coffee because the coffee shop was closed, and we would sit and we would just talk. And people would walk by and they would look at us like, "You guys crazy? Like, they're bringing their lawn chair." And I'm thinking, why are we crazy? Like, you guys are standing up, we're sitting down. And that's what I loved about it. He's like, "Make sure you bring your lawn chair." And I was like, "Lawn chair? Okay." I brought it and I said, "Okay, this is why we brought a lawn chair." So I just love, man, the stories about Enrique, I could go on, man. He's just, oh man, just amazing
We
dude.
have a comment. Preeti says we feel blessed that we could get to know him, meet him virtually, and learn from him.
Yes.
So I think last he certified Wow Kids, our preschool chain, for his IBG certification, and all our teachers feel really sad that we miss him, and that's what she is referring to. So yes,
yeah.
uh,
Well, The last person we're going to have speaking today is Dr. Kathleen Friend, who has worked with Enrique, I think, before the group. And she herself is a doctor, psychiatrist, and author, and also an accomplished musician. So she and Enrique had a lot in common, and she's going
And
to share that.
I
Yes?
loved the way Enrique used to call out her name. Can you really recall, Kathleen, the way whenever he used to see her, am I right, Kathleen?
Oh man.
The way the kind of importance somebody can give to your name was enormous, and especially your name, the way he used to call out Kathleen, big roar, and you would suddenly feel ignited. Whatever your state of mind would be, you will still, he will push you immediately up, and you will be out of your state of mind and immediately focus on the talk.
Oh,
Yes, Dr. Kathleen.
oh my goodness. How can I even begin to add to this memorial and beautiful tribute to such a larger than life human being, man, fearless warrior? And I'm going to start by saying that I actually met Sam in this family. I met Sam first, and I just want to say hello to Sam and Marie. I don't know, Marie, if you remember meeting me. We only met once at a Helios sectional rehearsal at somebody's house where you were playing some Bach, I think, and we were all trying to learn the music. But I met Sam because we sang in several groups together. It was through music. Hi, Sam. I love you. And we sang together, and somehow we got talking about her dad. I think that Enrique was going to give a talk at we both sang at an Episcopal church in town, and he was going to give a talk. And I think I saw the title of the talk, and I said to Sam, "Man, that's the kind of stuff I do," like in my heart. Not that I had it out there the way he did. But I thought, oh my God, this is a guy who's voicing all the things I believe. And I'm thinking, wow. And so one thing led to another, and I found out about the Sam the Ant book and bought it. And and then I went to the he was a keynote speaker for the Children's Music Network. They had their conference. Oh, has it been almost 3 years, 2 or 3 years? I'm losing track. In Phoenix. So I went, and that's the first time I met him in person. And just like everyone said, when you met Enrique, no matter where you were in life, he made you feel like, first of all, he could connect to anybody. He made you feel like you were the only person in the universe and the most special person in the universe, and he was on your wavelength. And the two of you were together in something really beautiful and bigger than ourselves. And he inspired me so much. I did some then personal coaching with him during the pandemic. So it was, and occasionally we would meet together in person. And what I love, oh my gosh, everything that there's so many things that everybody stated that I just would echo in my personal experience with him. But I also really appreciated that as completely genuine and spontaneous and creative. He was also a man of incredible discipline and science and learning, and he did not cut corners. He did his homework on everything. Yet when it would come out of him, it would come out in the most spontaneous, creative way. But behind that scene was such a great energy and intelligence. And I admired him so much. And just hearing all these stories today just fills me even deeper with him. And it's, I know, I think Andreas said this, that I know for me that this is going to help me have more confidence and fearlessness to bring this message forward. I feel like in my deepest being, I feel so aligned with who he is as a human being and the message, and have tried to be that in my own life, but only, I think a little bit compared to, the way he could do it. But I think that is our challenge, is to take his light and what he brought and now amplify it through us. And I am forever grateful for Enrique Feldman, and I miss him. I miss him. I hold him in my heart deeply. And I love you, Enrique. Can I say? That's it.
Kathleen, were you going to share something from Sam the Ant?
Well, I just happen to have Sam the Ant with me.
Of course.
And as a children's author myself, of course, I gravitated to the books right away. And although we don't have time to read this beautiful book, um, I just, the Sam the Ant series, for those of you who don't know, was a co-collaboration between Enrique and his daughter Sam. Yet, actually, I think it was really Sam who was the writer, and together they, brought these forward. And I read this in the back of the book, as I was preparing for this, and it says that, the reason this book was about adversity. And I'll just read this really quickly because it's relevant to what we're facing now with the loss of Enrique. What is adversity? Adversity is something in your life that is a challenge. It could be something unexpected that happens, that puts you in a situation where you are uncomfortable, like all of us right now. Adversity can be seen as something negative, but it can also be seen as positive. Many of the greatest human beings have used adversity as a way to grow and improve themselves. And I can hear his voice saying these words to us right now. And in this book, I'll read just, the two friends, Sam the Ant, and Sandy go on a face adversity, in that these little ants start noticing drops around them, and suddenly there's a raging storm. Several drops turn into a flood, and they're terrified for how in the world are they going to survive this flood. And then the line, "Don't worry, Sandy, we'll find a way to safety." And so they go through these trials of how they will survive. And suddenly a dragonfly appears, whoop, and says, "Climb onto my back. I'll fly you to higher ground." And I feel like we could think of Enrique saying, "Come on onto my back and let's fly to higher ground now."
Wow.
And so at the end of the book,
Don't give away the ending. Oh,
what? Don't give away the ending?
I have it read.
Can I give away the ending? Oh my God. So they get on the back of the dragonfly and they fly higher and higher. And what do they discover? They discover, there we go. Oh, I'm not good with the camera. They discover that the flood is this woman watering in the garden, watering the plant. So the message is going to the higher ground to see the perspective, and always getting
So good.
the wider view. So now, as we honor Enrique and hopefully bring some amount of love and comfort to Sam and Marie and Nick, that we always are reminded to go to that wider perspective.
Read what Sam just wrote, Kathleen.
What'd you go? Huge plot twist. Yeah, I love this book, man. Sam the Ant. And thank you so much for letting me contribute my heart to this tribute.
Yes, you needed to be a part of this, Kathleen. We tied together all these people, and I don't know, Deb, can you do just 1 minute? Go ahead.
Well,
We have a comment that I'd like to share from Rick Warmer.
and
He says,
that's what I was gonna say.
love Enrique's constant reminder to live in the eye of the hurricane. Today, all the love and light that is Hank in our hearts and lives is the eye of the hurricane within which to shelter. Amazing.
That's what I was going to just say, that of the handful of us fortunate enough to be a part of this, there are so many people that held such a huge piece of Enrique's growth and development. And certainly Rick Waymer is one that I never got to meet myself. Rick, he spoke so highly of you. Again, I think of Mim would have loved to have been here, or Candace, or any of the other art people in the world, that help formulate. Just remembering him talk, Kathleen, about how the stories that he told his children at bed, Sam and Nikki, and how then Sam took it forward from the fables and the stories that he told as a father. It is absolutely an eloquent tribute to, again, his love for them from the beginning.
Yes, definitely. So thank you, all of you, saying such beautiful things. And we thought it would be nice to end with a song that kind of reflects how when someone is gone, they're not really gone from us. They're just on the other side of the rainbow. So every time it rains, part of the rainbow touches the earth and part of the rainbow goes somewhere where we don't know, but we know that Enrique's on that other side. So we're just going to play a little bit of this song and hope it conveys a message. Let me be a rainbow high up in the sky. You can come and join me someday when you fly. If I were a rainbow, I would still come home. Each time a cloud passes through, look, you're not alone. So, of course, I messed up all the chords because it's emotional. You could play that song thousands of times in front of big crowds of people, but play it for someone like Enrique, and but he will always be there at the other end of the rainbow, and shining on us with all his bright colors. And we promise all of you, Marie, Sam, Nikki, that everything your father taught us, we will continue to pass on. And we want to thank you all for joining us today, and at Tool for putting this all together, everyone for your time. It was hard for all of you, I know, and thank you.
I want to thank you, Atul, also for all your work in putting this together. Thank you so much.
All right, I think we should we end the program by putting the video back. Okay.
Traditional route of teaching young boys to be the protectors or the women to be the caregivers, those are very, very old thoughts. Create more work, how to create more value, but also the benefits for our mental health, the benefits for our families, right, and for our future. It's time to create, in concrete ways, hope for the future. And if you can't tell, I'm really excited because this is what I was built for. I had an incredible grandmother, and I still have a great mom, and many other mentors. And I'm so filled with gratitude that I've been shown just ways in which I've been able to continue to grow. And I want to share those with all of you. So December 13th, then I want to engage you in a physical way that will help you reimagine how you use your brain. What about having a literate brain? What does that mean? Switch to, nice job.